What if the deepest part of the ocean got even deeper? What if the Mariana Trench, already nearly 11 kilometers deep, suddenly tore open, stretching all the way down to the Earth's core? Could such a thing even happen? And if it did, what would pour out? Lava? Pressure? Vacuum? By accident? Would it explode? Collapse? Or unleash something unexpected? Drop your wildest guesses, and don't forget to compare them by the end. Would the ocean collapse into the planet's center like a cosmic drain? Or would something far worse happen, something we've never seen before? This might sound like a sci-fi disaster film, but it's rooted in real geophysics. The Mariana Trench is located where tectonic plates are already pulling apart and plunging downward. So what happens if that process goes too far? What if the trench split open catastrophically and just kept going? The Earth's mantle ranges from 1,000 to over 3,500 degrees Celsius. As ocean water crashes downward, it would flash into steam, triggering violent explosions of superheated vapor. Think of it like trying to pour ice water into a volcano on a planetary scale. Before we dive into the deepest hole imaginable, tell us in the comments, what do you think would happen if we drilled into the Earth's core? The Mariana Trench is the deepest known part of Earth's oceans, plunging nearly 11,000 meters beneath sea level. Located in the western Pacific Ocean, it's formed by the convergent boundary where the Pacific Plate subducts beneath the smaller Mariana Plate. Now imagine this, a seismic event unlike any before, maybe a supermassive earthquake or an artificial detonation, causes a catastrophic rift to form at the base of the trench. But instead of stopping in the upper mantle, this crack keeps going through the asthenosphere, lower mantle, and all the way to the outer core, nearly 3,000 kilometers down. The immediate impact? The entire Pacific Ocean would begin draining into the Earth. The immense pressure of ocean water at the trench, over 1,000 times atmospheric pressure, would drive the flow downward with unstoppable force. Sea levels worldwide would begin to drop. Coastal cities would see tides pulling outward unnaturally. Ports would empty. Rivers would backflow. The hydrosphere would be in total chaos. A column of water, kilometers wide, plunging toward the Earth's outer core. This wouldn't be a slow leak. It would be a global-scale catastrophe. At first, it might look like a massive whirlpool, but as the trench deepens, ocean currents would shift drastically. Meanwhile, the deeper water flows, the hotter it gets. This sudden interaction between cold water and molten rock would cause hydrothermal shockwaves. Massive quakes would ripple outward from the trench, triggering tsunamis, not just near the Pacific Rim, but across every ocean basin. And it wouldn't stop there. The crack would behave like a pressure release valve. As the water flashes to steam, it creates extreme expansion enough to fracture surrounding rock, widening the rift. New fault lines would emerge. Volcanic chains near the trench, like the Izubonin and Mariana Islands, could erupt violently. The atmosphere would also begin to change. Steam and ash plumes would rise into the stratosphere, cooling the planet's surface while acidifying rain. The abyssal ecosystem would collapse. Entire food chains based on chemosynthesis around hydrothermal vents would be vaporized. Air travel would be grounded globally. Sunlight would dim. Within hours, we're not just dealing with a collapsing trench. We're dealing with a planetary geophysical breakdown. What does water do to molten iron? And could the planet actually survive it? Stick around, what about the creatures of the deep? Life in the Hadal Zone, already adapted to crushing pressure, would be destroyed instantly. But even worse, the water wouldn't stop. That's where things become unpredictable. And we'll explore exactly what happens next in part 2. Because if the rift truly reached the core, we'd be introducing Earth's surface moisture into regions where water does not belong. Ready to see what happens if the ocean reaches Earth's core? With the Mariana Trench now open all the way to Earth's core, Earth's most stable systems, oceans, crust, mantle convection are under siege. And while the initial cataclysm may have passed, the aftermath could be even more devastating. Earth's outer core is a swirling sea of molten iron and nickel that helps generate the magnetic field protecting us from cosmic radiation. But now, this water doesn't just vaporize, it changes the chemical composition of the mantle and core boundary. An open shaft from the surface to this fiery interior is dumping billions of tons of seawater directly into it. At this depth, supercritical water behaves more like a corrosive fluid than steam. Entire power grids could be disabled during solar storms. As it mixes with magma and iron, it could destabilize the convection currents that power the magnetic dynamo. Within months, or maybe just weeks, Earth's magnetic field could weaken or collapse entirely. That would expose the planet to a flood of solar and cosmic radiation. GPS systems would fail. Satellites would degrade. Skin cancer rates would skyrocket. And that's just one layer of the problem. As pressure builds inside the trench and more rock is pulled inward by gravity and seismic instability, tectonic plates bordering the Pacific could begin to slide and snap. We'd see the rise of new fault lines, oceanic crust folding, and the possible collapse of entire continental shelves. Australia's eastern seaboard might shift. California could be pushed into an entirely new position, and island chains might vanish beneath collapsing terrain. The trench would act like a tear in fabric, only the fabric is Earth's crust. If the collapse deepened further, there's a theoretical but terrifying possibility that Earth could undergo true polar wander, a slow but massive reorientation of the planet as outer shell, changing the equator and poles over thousands of years. Back on the surface, the continued steam eruptions, ash clouds, and release of mantle gases like sulfur dioxide and methane would trigger a global climate anomaly. You'd see temperature drop from sunlight blocking aerosols, acid rain that kills crops and contaminates freshwater, sky darkening plumes that circle the globe for months. Photosynthesis would slow. Food chains would collapse. Global agriculture could fail for several seasons, triggering famine. And all of it started from a hole in the sea. Survival would depend on how fast we react. Coastal cities would need to evacuate within days. Military and scientific coalitions would try to seal or stabilize the fissure, perhaps by dropping massive concrete blocks, plasma-cut barriers, or even nuclear fusion devices designed to melt rock and reseal the opening. But it may be too late. The world's attention would shift to geothermal regions, underground bunkers, and equatorial zones where temperatures and sunlight might remain stable enough for limited agriculture. Floating cities and sea-based colonies might take over food production. Space stations could serve as backup shelters. And the deep ocean would become off-limits, too unstable, too dangerous. Earth wouldn't die. But the world we knew, that would be gone. Over time, decades, centuries, Earth might stabilize. But it would look drastically different. The Pacific Ocean might shrink into a cratered sea. New volcanic mountain ranges could form from collapsed trenches. And the once small Mariana Trench would become a planet-sized scar visible from space. It might even become Earth's version of a permanent supervolcano zone, constantly venting. Always dangerous, but crucial for understanding the planet's core. Future humans might study it the way we study the Grand Canyon. But the cost of this knowledge? A planet permanently altered, maybe even halfway to reformed by accident. So, what if the deepest point on Earth broke through to its heart? It's a terrifying idea, but it's also a reminder that our planet is alive, fragile, and constantly shifting. What lies beneath us could someday reshape what lies above us. Now it's your turn. Would humanity survive a collapse like this? Or would we adapt and rebuild from the edge of extinction? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more real science, mind-bending what-if scenarios every single week.